Now we're going to talk about my cash game strategy. And look, with little to no informative statistics to prepare, my strategy to attack this 4-game slate is to go heavy on favorites, with the main one being the Bandits, being minus 4.5 point favorites over the Maulers. Tampa Bay Bandits quarterback Jordan Tiamu at 10,400 is the best mobile QB on the slate, will be the highest owned cash quarterback, and should be. While we're discussing the Bandits, another few names stick out, and I feel their cash game must for week 1. Just like normal NFL DFS, we always preach in cash games to look for running backs with high volume and heavy favorites. Which brings me to running back BJ Emmons at 8,400. He is one of only 2 backs on the roster that should get the bulk of the workload in week 1. And as previously stated, the Bandits are minus 4.5 point favorites over the Maulers. Emmons looks to check off those boxes as we head into week 1, and I feel he should be the highest rostered running back for cash games. One more Bandit I want to mention is Derek Willis at 6,600. He is simply too cheap and looks to be the lead receiver for this team. Likely going to be high owned and should be. These 3 players are my core cash game plays, and I believe they should be on everyone's roster in week 1. Now that we discussed her core 3 plays for cash games, here's my final thoughts on my cash game lineup. This doesn't necessarily mean that this is what I'm going with, and I'm not going to change my mind anymore up until kickoff. But right now, I got Jordan Tiamu, BJ Emmons, and Derek Willis, the core 3. And then with the wide receiver tight end position, you got Jonathan Adams and Victor Bolden Jr., wide receiver Jordan Sewell, who we discussed earlier as one of my favorite wide receivers on the slate. And then you got the defense of the Stallions at 3,800, and that leaves you with no remaining salary. I'm not sure if I want to have any remaining salary when it comes to cash games, or at least not a lot if I do end up with some. But as of right now, this looks like a pretty solid roster. I think this is something that I'm going to have very similar to once it's kickoff time. But yeah, there's my cash game lineup as of right now. Look, don't just copy and paste this or pause it and copy it down, and don't do any more research up until kickoff Saturday, because, I mean, that's just a huge mistake on your part. I give out these lineups to just give you an idea of what they should look like. I would definitely stick with this core 3, though, of Tiamu, Evans, and Willis. But other than that, I don't have much else to say. Let's go ahead and move on to our GPP strategies. Now we're moving on to our single entry 3-max GPP strategy. This week I will be playing heavier in cash games than usual due to the lack of statistics. However, I will be playing in some small field single entry and 3 maxes with nothing much but depth charts and ownership to go off of. It may be a little challenging to get an edge against your opponents. While ownership is the main key, it's going to factor most people's decisions. I'm going back to the Vegas odds to help me. For starters, depending on the size of the contest, fading Tampa Bay Bandits QB Jordan Tiamu at 10,400 will be something I consider just due to ownership and people's lack of knowledge on other teams that will help create an edge there. Secondly, stacking heavy on both sides of the Philadelphia Stars 2.5 versus the New Orleans Breakers 2.5 over-under 43.5 will be my main go-to. It's the highest over-under and the most hopeful shootout on the slate. I have interest in both QBs, Kyle Slaughter and Byron Scott, and their pass catchers. Just like NFL DFS, stacking will be integral in your long-term success. For our final thoughts on this single entry lineup, I'm going with a New Orleans Breakers stack. We got Kyle Slaughter, Rose, Sean Poindexter, and then we're running it back with Jordan Sewell. And then we got one of the core plays for our cash games, and Derek Willis. I think he's just going to be one of those must plays. And then we got running back Gary Groshek. I really think he's going to be one of the most underlooked running backs on the slate. So definitely somebody I want to roster. And then you got your defense, the Birmingham Stallions. I think they're my favorite defense on the slate as of right now. And look, this is not my final lineup, so don't screenshot this and put it in, because it's stuff can change from here to now. But this is just a process I like to go through when I'm getting ready to set up my lineups. I create a player pool. I create a stacks that I like. And I just thought I would share that with you guys. But yeah, there's my final thoughts on single entry GPP lineups. Yeah, let's go ahead and move on.